I'm Nicole Lappin, the only financial expert you don't need a dictionary to understand. It's time for some money rehab. Hey, Upper East Siders. Money Girl here. Spotted Vanessa Abrams, all grown up. Only off-screen, she goes by Jessica Szohr. And trust me, her story is just as compelling. Okay, that was my best Kristen Bell impression. I also didn't know she was the voice of Gossip Girl for so long. When I found out, I was shooketh. But anyway, I did not land that at all. But I tried, and that's okay. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you probably don't know Gossip Girl lore, but you still know our guest today, actress Jessica Szohr, because if you didn't see her in Gossip Girl, you definitely saw her in the Orville, Shameless, Twin Peaks, or any of the other dozens of credits on her very well-stacked IMDb page. But what you do not know are the lessons that Jessica has learned about money throughout her career. And you don't know this because she has never actually talked about them publicly before. But today, she really opens up. We talk about her earliest money memories, like how it felt to book major six-figure modeling jobs before most of us had a checking account. We get into some real stuff, advocating for yourself financially, how much or how little actors talk about pay, and yes, we talk about Gossip Girl. We unpack how money was a main character of the show, what it taught her about wealth and status early on, and some real behind-the-scenes stuff like what Leighton Meester texted her when the series took off, the crazy way she was discovered for this role, and why she had to hire a bodyguard. She also breaks down when we talk about her co-star, Michelle Trachtenberg, who tragically died earlier this year. Jessica was so open, so generous, and so honest in this conversation about her career, about motherhood, and what she's learned the hard way. I really felt like I got a little bit of her light just by hearing her talk, and I hope you feel the same way. XOXO, here's Jessica. Jessica Szohr, welcome to Money Rehab.
I love what you do. I love that you're a new mom.
Thank you.
And yeah, all the things. How is motherhood going for you?
It's going.
She's 6 months, right?
She's 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh my
a
God.
work in progress. I have no idea what I'm doing, but like we don't know what we're doing in many areas of our lives.
Yeah. With Bowie, I remember my grandma once was like, just look around. Everyone had, we all got through it. And it's true. Like you just learn. But it is like wild when you think about it. Like you grew this human and then this beautiful human that you can never express the amount of love you have. This amount of love. It's just like the craziest thing. And then you're just like going with it. You have to make sure this little beautiful human is eating, sleeping, staying alive, laughing. I mean, it's like one day you're not a mom and the next day you are, and you're just like thrown
Totally.
into it. It's
And
so
you're never
crazy.
not again. I know. You're always going to be somebody's mama. And it's interesting because I think a lot about it brings up a lot of memories of how I was raised and especially my relationship with money. Like I've never thought, I've thought about money for the last 20 years and how to talk about it and how to talk about financial literacy and make it accessible and all these things. But I never really like dug in, and I have a lot of financial trauma, but I never dug into like how I was spoken to about money and then how I want to change that for my own daughter. If I heard we can't afford that, growing up, did that affect how I looked at scarcity or abundance? Like, did that affect my mindset about money? Did that affect how my confidence was later on in my career? Like, how
Right.
do I want to talk about money when my daughter can talk because she cannot talk? She coos. It's so cute.
Aw.
But let's go back to the beginning of your money memories. I mean, I know that your daughter's 4. You're probably thinking about this type of stuff with her too. Like, what's your earliest memory of money growing up?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so my my dad was a spender and my mom was super frugal. Super frugal to the point where sometimes I'm like, Mom, maybe that was just being cheap. They were very like on one end, totally one end to the other. My dad we'd come home from like a soccer game or something, and he would have like speakers being delivered with like these huge screen TVs and like all these like gadgets and all these things. And my mom would be like, we don't need this. This is so expensive. What are you doing? We need to save for this and save for that.
So
I
you
remember
ended up somewhere in the middle.
I
It
ended up
sounds
somewhere
like.
in the middle. I'm a little bit, Brad's definitely helped me like tighten my spending. And I think Brad has a really good take on money, view on money. He goes and talks to his business manager once a week. That was something I was like, what? And he's like, you need to be on top of that, going in, checking monthly, if not weekly. And I also think a big thing that Brad taught me too is like, just because you're paying someone to help with your money doesn't mean like you still need to overlook all of that. Like
Yeah.
they can be helping you, but like you need to make sure that like your money is constantly making you money. Like just because you're paying them doesn't mean that they're putting it all where it needs to be. You know what I mean? So I think that
And
was a
by the
big,
way, with marriage too. So like I don't know how you guys split up the expenses or the savings or the investing, but like if somebody does it, that doesn't mean that the other person shouldn't know what's going on too
oh,
or have access
100%.
to it.
Yeah, totally. But he's really taught me a lot in that because when I moved to LA at 18, I left and I was just like an independent woman, only having to worry about like my rent or when I bought my first place or pay my bills or do my investments. So when we became a team, it opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Yeah, but I'm sure you taught him stuff too. I mean, sister, you were modeling when you were a kid, you were acting, you had a ton of big jobs with huge companies, national commercials, modeling for JanSport and Kohl's and Mountain Dew, right? I mean, you started working so early on, and I'm always so fascinated with child actors who have a business manager because kids don't have business managers if you're not in this industry. Like, how does that change your
Yeah.
relationship that early on with work and money and the value of
Yeah.
it?
I remember because I started modeling when I was like 5 in Milwaukee. I was with an agency, Arlene Wilson's there. And then when I was 10, moved to the Chicago agency. And I remember having to like join the union at 10 and things with taxes. But I was so young that I didn't really know what was going on. I remember when I moved to LA at 18, I was like, oh my God, I got to file for taxes. Like I have to do this all on my own now. Like my mom's not here.
Did
It
your mom
was
keep your money in a
well,
bank account for you?
they had
How
a
did it
bank
work?
account for me that was saved with all like the modeling and commercial money that I made because they didn't want me to have to take out a loan for school. And then I didn't end up going to school. I moved to LA. But what was nice is I didn't have to move there and become a waiter right away to pay for my headshots and stuff. I was able to kind of take acting classes and focus on that, which was really nice. And I didn't really realize how special that was and how unique that was until I got there. I'm like, oh my God, these people are like there's millions of people here trying to do it, tons of people having to work 3, 4 jobs and still try to make their auditions during the day. So I was very blessed that I was able to move with money in my account to Los Angeles.
Yeah. So she
But
kept it for you and sort of gave you an allowance of sorts, or how
yeah,
did
and
that
then
work?
when I kind of like early 20s, it was kind of just turned over into my name. And I didn't get a business manager until I booked Gossip Girl. And that was kind of wild to me because when you're acting, you know, you're just, for me as an actor, I wanted to book a job that told a story, that people felt something, that I grew. I was never really thinking about, like, I need this job and I want to make money and I want to become rich and I want to become famous. It was never about that. So when you book a job that ends up hitting the way Gossip Girl did and people responding around the world, it was like it put us on the map in a different way and financially. I mean, we were getting paid for appearances. There wasn't social media then. Like now you can get paid for posts and all those kind of things. Back then it was kind of like you're getting paid to go to Fashion Week or you're getting paid for these appearances, let alone making the money on CW for a show that hit pretty big. We had to get a business manager. We had to get publicists, lawyers. Like I was like, this is crazy. It was also crazy how much like a publicist was a month. I remember Ed and I were like,
How much
we're
was
not
it?
paying that much a month. And they're like, you guys really need to have one. People are starting to follow you. Like Warner Brothers was really wanting all of us to have that. And it ended up being very necessary. And I am still with my same publicist to this day, and she's amazing. But that was interesting to be like, oh my gosh.
Did
And
you
another
know how
thing
much
that,
all this stuff was at the time?
no, not at all.
And you also, bought yourself some celebratory stuff along the way, right? Like when you first booked Gossip Girl, didn't you get yourself a Fendi purse that's still in the family?
It is. I think my cousin Sydney has it now, but yeah, that was the first thing. And I'm not like this crazy designer, like the few designer purses I have, Brad's gotten me for like Mother's Day or my birthday. And I don't get me wrong, I love them and I'll rock them all the time. But I just never to me was like, okay, I'm gonna go and spend $1,200 or $2,500 on a purse. It just didn't like click with me. That time I'm like, I deserve like I'm gonna pay for this like designer purse. I'm gonna go in and do that. And that was like I remember on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, and it felt good.
Yeah.
It felt freaking good.
Let's celebrate it. You worked your ass off. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not about doing it every day. And it's also like there's a sweet spot between thinking you're going to live forever and thinking you're going to die tomorrow. And I think people end up getting stuck on both sides of the extremes. And
Yes.
the truth is, like, you can't hoard and, not ever get yourself something to celebrate. And also, you can't spend all the things. Like, there is somewhere in between that makes most sense. Where that is different for everybody.
Sure, totally. I
Fire-
also
fire
don't
star.
really think like growing up, just talking about my siblings, like I don't know, I was born in 85, but I don't really know that there was like a ton of conversation about like money and savings with kids growing up in the 80s. I don't know any of my friends still from high school that when we were like 15 had like this plan because their parents have talked about money as kids and then in high school. Do you know what I mean? I think everyone was like
Mhm.
kind of focused on where were they going to go to school? What was their, 5-year plan? That kind of thing. And now I think it's very different. I don't know if it's the access to the internet and all these podcasts where you can get information, or that we finally realize as our generation is like, okay, we need to talk about this, or I just don't think it really was. I mean, do you feel like your group of friends had open
No.
conversations about money with their friends?
No.
I don't know one friend that was like, yeah, this is my parents, like not one.
No. And also, it's so hilarious. I mean, even now, like to talk to kids and ask them how much they think things cost, like a car or a house. Like, I had no idea. I had no
Right.
perspective about it. I mean, do you think about that with your daughter now? Like, how to change that cycle, or not that you needed to break a cycle, because it sounds like it was pretty run of the mill. Like, your parents fought sometimes about money. It was nothing super extreme.
Right.
But it sounds like you wanted to change that for your own relationship, and probably how your daughter learns about money from you. 'Cause
Totally.
they
And
watch you for everything.
yeah, totally. And I definitely do want her to be aware. I also think being aware of spending. Like we come up here, we're in Flagstaff and we're members here. So like when she goes to get a milkshake or get something, she doesn't see us handing over a card because it goes onto our account, which is not always cute at the end of the month. But but like I
Milkshakes,
said to Brad the other day, because I have a stepdaughter who's 9, like we should really explain to them this isn't free. Like that's a $6 milkshake, and so you're gonna finish it, or we're not gonna get it if you're just like gonna take 2 sips because you think it's free. And that seems very like little and not like a big deal, but it is to be aware of. Like we left lunch the other day and they had some friends and there was like 4 large lemonades, 3 milkshakes, and I'm not being cheap, but they were just sitting. I'm like, oh my God, they just don't understand that like that all needs to be paid for.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't get a drink growing up. That was like a special
God.
occasion when you could get a
Totally.
soda or something.
I remember if people had like gushers, I'd be like, oh, they're rich. My mom would never, we couldn't afford gushers to go in my lunch.
So let's go back to a time where you felt like you needed money rehab. Was there something that you picked up in your 30s that you wish you knew in your 20s about money?
Yeah. I I do feel like you have to remember money doesn't grow on trees. And even when you do have money coming in, you don't know when that'll stop or when when the stock market crashes. You just have to be prepared, I feel like. And there was a moment in time where I was like just picking up and going on trips. I was in a relationship where I was really covering everything for him, which was, when I look back, is like unbelievable.
Wait,
The
tell me
amount
more
of
about
money that I spent.
You supported?
Was crazy. Yeah,
Mhm.
for like 2 years. And I remember my mom being like, you're going to regret this. And it's not just a money thing. Like, this is not cool. And yeah, so I like went through a lot of money. And then I was a hostess at a sushi bar on Sunset. And then I ended up sitting Madonna at the wrong table and I got fired.
Wait,
They
this
were
was
like,
pre-Gossip Girl.
Yes. Then I went and I started working right down the street at this place called Sunset Kids. And then that's where my manager, Lena Rockland, who I'm still with, was like looking at me while I was wrapping a gift. And she's like, what do you do here? And I'm like, I moved here from Wisconsin to act, kind of did modeling growing up. And she's like, yeah, you should be on TV. And I'm like, thanks, that's so nice. I have a manager and agent. And she's like, well, they're not doing their job. And then I
Damn.
took a meeting with her because I felt this like really laid on my heart for like 3 days. I called my mom. I'm like, can you pray about this with me? I feel like there's something with this woman, but I don't want to be disrespectful to my team. But I also didn't like up and leave my family and be on the grind of this to like just sit and wait for people. So
Yeah.
I left my manager so that I wasn't shady and then took a meeting with her. I really had faith that like I was going to go with this woman and something was going to work out because I literally left my manager without fully signing with her because I just felt that was the right thing to do. It's kind of weird like with managers and stuff in our industry, it's almost like relationships. Like if you end up leaving your agent or manager, it's like you're like scared to call and tell them. There's all this history. It's like really wild. But anyways, I ended up going with her. And 2 weeks
Yeah,
later,
having a professional breakup is hard. And then you booked Gossip Girl?
I booked a show called What About Brian, which is a J.J. Abrams and Brian Burke show that was on ABC. And that was my first time being a series regular and seeing quotes and meaning like when you test for something or become a series regular, the network has to give you a quote and that's what you get paid per episode. And then as you book other jobs or test for other pilots, whether they go or don't go, they have to keep meeting your quote and your quote can keep going up or does keep going up, especially if you have a really great team like I do. So like by the time I booked Gossip Girl, my quote had went up a lot from different tests, deals, and things like that. So that was great. And then you never know what shows are going to hit or not hit. So when we booked Gossip Girl and signed, for our deals, we didn't know after the first 13 episodes if we were going to get the back 9, if this was going to go on another season. And not only did it hit, it like exploded in so many different lanes. Like the fashion world wanted to be a part of our show, the music world, the industry. Like we were at every award show. Every designer wanted us to wear their clothes on the show or off the show. It was crazy. Like I'd be like, oh, I just have to walk outside and they're going to take a picture of me wearing this shirt and pay me that much money. This is crazy. And then on top of it, which was wild, is the amount of free shit that started coming. Like
That's always
boxes
crazy.
daily.
Like the
I'm like, I
people
can
that can afford it get the free stuff.
I said, I can finally afford all this. And I'm when I say this, I mean that. And like, I was so grateful. I still am when I get stuff. It's crazy, but I just remember being like, Mom, you won't believe this.
Yeah. So how does it work? Do you negotiate your per episode rate regardless of if you have one line in the episode or if you're all over the episode?
Well, if you're a series regular, that's a different contract than if you're, come on to do 3 of the 6 episodes or, 2 episodes, or if you're a day player. So there's all different kinds of contracts and deals and things like that.
And
but
you
like,
were a series regular.
Yeah, I get paid my quote for that episode, whether I'm in one scene
Gotcha.
or all 42.
Okay, so when you
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean that there would be some times where we would be like, oh, we're going to go to the Hamptons for the weekend, and if you only worked Monday and Tuesday, then I'd have 6 days off. And my friend would be like, wait, so you get paid the same amount even if you went in all? I'm like, yeah, that's just how it works. Some episodes you're really heavy in, sometimes you're not.
But regardless, you get the same amount.
Yeah,
love that. Okay,
mm-hmm.
You book Gossip Girl.
Mm.
Can you? What is that moment? Where were you? What were you doing? Who told you got the part?
I remember I was like having a hard time. I was booking things here and there. I'd get like, a couple episodes on this show or do this. It was after What About Brent? And I just remember I was like, went through a moment where I'm like, I miss my family. I miss my friends. Because I moved to LA. I wasn't old enough to go out. I wasn't in school. And like, I would be working, but I would like go on a show for 2 weeks and then be done. So it wasn't like I was like growing a family like you kind of do when you're on a show for years, where you make some of your best friends like I did on Gossip Girl or, Shameless and things like that. So I was like wanting to move home, and my mom came out and kind of was like, I think you should just keep going. The easy thing to do would be to leave and come home. We'll always be here for you. And don't get me wrong, my mom would have loved for me to move home, but she was also like, I know that you're just like kind of going through a moment. So I kind of stuck it out. I ended up going to a barbecue. My friend and his roommate, my friend Nathaniel and Adam, it's just such a weird and wild story, small world, asked if I wanted to go to this barbecue. And I was kind of like, I don't want to go to one in Hollywood where everyone just talks about themselves and this industry. The irony is that I'm sitting here literally doing that. They're like, no, it'll be fun. We get there. we're talking about life. We're sitting around the pool. And then 2 days later, my manager, Lena, called me and was like, what did you do this weekend? I'm like, I went to a barbecue. I went to a movie. Why? What's up? And she's like, there's this pilot called Gossip Girl that got picked up for the CW. And there's a role that shoots 3 to 4 episodes in New York. You were at the creator's house this weekend and they really like you for the role. I was like, I was at Josh Schwartz's house. She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, his name was Josh, but I never put it together. Never mentioned anything. It's actually funny when you hear Josh and Stephanie tell the story. They're like, we were literally whispering like, this is Vanessa as you were sitting there. I'm like, you were? Why didn't you say something? They're like, we didn't even know if you were an actor. So I end up auditioning. I booked it and was like on a flight like 2 days later. And then I did the 4 episodes. And then that episode, I feels like after that ended, I remember being bummed and that the whole cast took me to dinner. And I remember Blake being like, well, you have to come back for another episode. Vanessa can't just vanish. And I'm like, that's actually true. But they were all like cute. And I was like really sad though, because I was, becoming friends and we were living in New York City, running around, going to concerts and plays, and just shooting the show was fun. It's not wearing all the designer clothes, and the storylines were so dramatic and crazy. And so, yeah, I ended up coming back, and I'll never forget when Lena called. She's like, they want to make you a series regular. So then it changed because those 3 episodes, it was just reoccurring. So that's a totally different contract because now it's like years. And, so that was a big change.
Huge. And also I'm so fascinated because money is a big character in the show. Did working on the show change the way you thought about money or status?
Yeah, because I remember when we got picked up for the back 9, Leighton texted, she goes, we're rich, bitch. And I was dying laughing. And then I'm like reading a script and I'm like, okay, this kid owns a hotel and drives a limo. The world and the money that these Upper East Side kids are living in the show, but actually in real life there too. Because we filmed up there a lot. I got to know some people whose kids were in high school, that really is like a very small percentage in the world that like live that way. I'm not saying exactly to Gossip Girl, but living in these crazy apartments, that overlook Central Park and are going to these schools. I mean, it's wild.
I loved Gossip Girl, still love Gossip Girl. I feel like it's made a comeback again. My ex's daughter was watching it and I was just like, this is like such an iconic show, and Money is such an iconic character in it. I thought this is just really like a good look into a world that people don't get access to a lot. As you said, it's a super small percentage. The amount of money that you spend on these schools, I think, is up to like $100,000 or something crazy a year right now.
Yeah.
Just bananas.
It just even like to live in New York City, like you walk outside and before you're even in the cab or in the Uber, you're spending, you're just, I remember saying to one of my best friends, we were living there for like a couple summers ago. And I remember being like, I just walked out and spent $300 and I haven't even got a coffee yet. Like between the, you know what I mean? But it was crazy. It's just nuts.
And it sounds like you became really close friends with your co-stars. Did you guys ever talk about money? Like, is it taboo to ask because now it's much more common to have salary transparency, but did you ever know what your
Honestly,
day
I
rate
was
was
never
compared?
Yeah, I was never on any set where anyone had ever asked me or vice versa. I feel like it's kind of like you just don't ask. Or maybe that's just how I feel because I never have, but I've never been asked that.
I mean, do you have a favorite memory from that time of your life?
I mean, there was so many things. I remember getting there and we were all going out and the show hadn't aired yet, but like there were billboards everywhere in the city and on the sides of buses. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this shows, they're like putting time and money and energy into this. And I think people are going to like it. And then I really knew that it was a hit when we had to get security guards, like to walk us to and from set and to and from our apartments. And when, paparazzi was following us and outside, it was really weird because no one can prepare you for that. And to compare it from going to, oh, you just want to book a job that, you can pay your bills and still tell a story, to like your whole world is out to the public. Like it was really crazy. I mean, we were in the tabloids every week. I feel like there was like fake reporters at restaurants sitting next to us. It was really wild to go from like, oh, I could do whatever to like, okay, you got to kind of look over your shoulder.
Would you do a reunion?
I think it would be fun just because it would be cool to see where everyone is years down the line. But I feel like we've also all moved on. So, you know what I mean? So I'm not opposed to it. I mean, that was such a big part of all of our lives, and it's still a big part in my heart. I mean, it changed my life. And I also got to live in New York City, and we had so much fun. And there was like Ed and Chase were roommates, and I lived next in the next building over. I mean, the three of us were going to like every concert, all these different like events and art shows and plays. And it was so fun.
It sounds so fun. Do people recognize you now
Still,
in Arizona?
yeah. My husband is always like, how many legs is this show gonna have? Like, is this the last part? Because I almost think the show's bigger now than it was when we were on it. Because it's like on Netflix now, it's on all these different streaming. I am the oldest of five, and I have three sisters. One of my sisters was in high school when this was going on. Then my youngest sister, I'm 17 years older than. So from the difference between them, it was so big for each sister in high school, and it was all different times. So to me, I'm like, this is crazy. Like someone 17 years younger than me, and her grade and age were just as into it as the rest. It was crazy. It's wild. I
And
think the only thing when you go back and watch it, which I did 6 months ago, I was like sick in bed and I ended up like flipping it on, and I was like, and I never really had seen it, a few episodes here and there when I did the podcast for XO or with iHeart XOXO, but I hadn't seen some of the seasons. And I was like, they really nailed it. Like the casting, the writing, the like just all the dramatic. There would be 15 minutes and I'm like, nowadays you don't have to shoot anymore. This would be the episode, the amount of drama and like jaw-dropping moments, and then the crazy outfits, and then the guest stars that were coming on. I mean, they did a really good job. The only thing I think that like you could be like, oh, this was longer than we like a while back. This is in 2007 because of the flip phones. Do you know what I mean? Like other than that, you can kind of, it could have been 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This new generation's like, what's that?
And
I was so sorry to hear about Michelle Trachtenberg. My God. I mean, I know that when I've lost people that I knew when I was younger, it's such a reminder to cherish every moment. Did her passing have that effect on you?
Yeah. I mean, wow. I remember being super shocked. I mean, she was always such a, oh my God, I'm going to cry. Just like such a beautiful soul and so funny. And it was really shocking. And yeah, that definitely like made me realize that life's short and you don't know, we're not always promised tomorrow. She was really a breath of fresh air. She would say stuff where you would be like, Michelle, but it would be so funny. And she was so fun to work with and such a good actress. They would yell action and she would just dial in, and it was so fun to watch and play off of. She was special.
Yeah.
Oh my God, sorry guys.
No, I want to give you a big hug.
I know.
My God. Oh, do you need a minute?
Yeah, I'm gonna just get a Kleenex.
Are you okay to keep going?
Oh yeah. She really brought such. I mean, what she did with Georgina was like so epic. Like you loved her, you loved to hate her, but you also like rooted for her. And it just speaks volumes of how great of an actress she was. And she was just so professional, just like always. Literally watching her. Leighton has a lot of this too. It was like taking an acting class. They were just like so dialed and so fun, and you didn't know what was going to come next with their delivery. So it kept you on your toes, which I think makes you grow as an actor. And I think Michelle just like was epic. I didn't mean to break down like that. I actually, to be honest, a lot of people reached out about it, but this is the first time I've done like a interview where I've been asked. So missed her.
Yeah. Thinking about her, does it change the way you look at cherishing every moment? now?
Yeah, because I feel like, especially because she's so young. I mean, we're not promised tomorrow. You do have to cherish things. Life is fragile and special, and that definitely. I mean, I think as a whole, for all of us as a cat, I think we were all like shocked and sad and couldn't believe it. So, yeah, it definitely makes you like open your eyes to and realize that like we just never know what tomorrow brings.
Did you stay in touch?
Yeah, we were like two people that would have more fun at an event. And I moved to Scottsdale. I know she was back and forth between LA and New York quite a bit. And she was always working. That girl was always working, like whether she was producing something or filming something. But we definitely kept a friendship. We weren't in the same city often, but we definitely like checked in with each other and loved being around each other. She's such a trip in the best way.
Hold onto your wallets. Money Rehab will be right back. And now for some more Money Rehab.
You moved to Scottsdale. You are married, beautiful daughter, stepdaughter. You mentioned that you and your husband, Brad, have the same money mindset.
I mean, he's grown. He's like helped me grow in that. Like, I feel like if he didn't play hockey, he would be a really good business guy, and he's still a good business guy. Like, for me, if I wasn't acting, I wouldn't be like a great businesswoman. I would need like a team around me to help. I'm very creative. I have a lot of ideas that have helped me make money, and that hopefully some of these ones that I'm working on now will grow where people like it and I make money on it as well, and all that. But like he's like could have done either one.
Do you guys have the same bank account? Like, do you check in on money often? How does it work?
We definitely check in on things often. He's also helped me in a way to make sure that money goes away monthly for the girls and trusts and things like that. And then we own a couple properties together. We have our own bank accounts. We have some that are joined. So we share some things we have on our own.
And you share like what you prioritize spending on with experiences, or I mean, you guys met at Coachella, so
I mean, we did. We're not shy to like, we love having a good time. We love going to concerts. We love traveling. He's a real foodie. I would say he's bougie, I would say a little bit as down to earth and chill as he is. He likes nice things, which is great. And he's worked really hard and he deserves those. But it's like funny because he'll like pick a restaurant. He's just such a trip. He's got such good taste. He's got great style. And he works really hard and he's really smart with his money. And it's helped me. And he's also
And
made me a lot of money.
yeah, how?
Yeah. With different investments. Like I wouldn't have known about either of the two properties that we own. I would have never even thought to look in those places. And one property we've sold and we made a nice little chunk of change, which was great. But again, I wouldn't have probably done that investment had he not shown it to me. So I owe him a big hug and kiss right now.
Yeah, I mean, he owes you a big hug and kiss
Yeah,
too.
and that too. This is true.
What if your daughter told you she wanted to be a child actor or model? What would you tell her, knowing all that you know now?
Yeah. It's such a crazy industry. You're told no so many times. I think it takes a while to kind of get through how hard that can be to where you can keep it moving and not be too hard on yourself. I think that it took me a minute. I wouldn't want to discourage her of doing something that she wants to do or loves, but I would want to have like a real conversation about like why, what do you want to get from it? What do you want other people to see when you're, telling these stories or getting into character? And I would probably want her to be old enough where she really can answer those. But like 10, you don't really know. You don't have enough life experience to know the kind of things I would want her to be aware of out of being an actor and being in the industry. Because it's a lot. It's a lot.
Have you started thinking about allowance with her?
A couple months ago, we're starting to think about chores and things for Lexi to kind of show like, okay, if you do these things, you can make this money. And then use that money to buy certain things so that you can kind of start being aware. Not that we still wouldn't provide and get her, but like little things where it's like, okay, you want this sweatshirt. And we haven't really buckled down to do it yet, but we should, because I do think that's important. Because if you don't have, I didn't have that. So like when I came into money on my own, I would like go to dinners or go and travel. I mean, I went through money like crazy. So I think it's important that they have some awareness of that. And it's just so nowadays with even with the cell phones and Venmo and all that kind of stuff, like kids don't really see. I remember if I asked my mom for money growing up, like you got the $10. So you watched, when it was gone, it was gone. Where now it's like people
You
have their
swipe
own
it,
credit card.
imagine.
Yeah, you swipe it, tap it. I feel like it's weird because I feel like because of all these podcasts and the internet and all that, there's a lot of ways to help people talk more about money and saving and being aware. But I also think because of technology, there's lots where you are unaware. You know what I mean? I also wish Venmo would have been around years ago, because I will say this is like a lesson I really wish I would have learned earlier, is that when someone asks to borrow money or for you to lend them money, you're probably not seeing it back.
Yeah.
You're
Has
really
that happened to
probably
you?
not seeing it back. Yeah, quite a few times. And I remember my first business manager was like, this is not, I'm just telling you. And I'm like, I know, but it's fine. And they're going through a hard moment and it's okay. And I had to learn that it's okay to say no. It's okay that
Mm.
the money that I worked really hard for and left my family and had lonely nights and all that, just because I came into something for working hard, doesn't mean that I have to
You're
feel like
paying.
I owe that to other people. But I'm like I don't ever want anyone that I love or that I'm close to struggling. You know what I mean? But I really wish I would have been wiser in my 20s with that.
Did you lose the friend?
Not only because of losing the money, but also because of the principle of like, that's not cool. And it's okay to say no. Like it's okay to say, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't, I'm not going to do that this time, or I can't do that, or, my money's tied up here. Yeah, that's one thing I really wish I would have been better with.
Do you hold the boundary now?
I do.
This adage that, if you lend a friend money, decide what you want more, the friend or the money.
Right. I mean, yeah,
A
that's
lot of people
basically,
lose relationships.
yeah. That's also why they say don't do business with friends and family too, because that can get hard.
And what if one of your girls said they wanted to support a guy for 2 years?
Ooh, I wouldn't like that. Yeah, I don't
Your
like
mom
that.
didn't like that.
No, my mom didn't. And when I look back, I don't know what that was. I don't know why I felt like that was okay. But no, we would, no bueno.
So I'm a brand new mom. Do you have
Yes.
advice for me?
There's a quote that I don't think could be any more true, that the days are long, but the years are short. And it's so true. I keep saying this, like, because Bowie was my first baby. I always think about like going back to the 6 months, because everything's so new and fresh and you're like excited. But for me, I was like nervous, and you're not sure what you're doing, but you're trying and you're doing your best. And I just remember feeling like, oh my gosh, like, okay, we'll get through this week and then it's like another, it's the
Mm.
teething, then it's the crawling and making sure they're not getting hurt, but it's all such beautiful, amazing things. But I think now looking back, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, it wasn't that like stressful. Do you know what I mean? Like I was so, did she poop yet? I was so worried, and I wish I was a little bit more relaxed, because she was fine and everything was fine. And we got through the teething and the crawling and when they stopped sleeping again. One thing I didn't know was that they go 3 naps, and then all of a sudden she stopped napping at 2, and I didn't know that was like a thing at 2.
Oh, well, then what happens? It's just at night?
She just no napping. I was like, called my sister. I'm like, I didn't know they just stopped napping. She's like, well, 2's pretty early, Jess, but yeah, yep. But I guess the advice is just, I also think really trying to be as present as possible. Like I really try not to be on my phone when I'm with my girls. A lot of my friends are like, you're the worst with your phone. Like they'll call for like 3 days. I like try to check my email and stay on stuff with work. But I think being really present and just enjoy it. It goes so fast. It's the best thing in the world. I have a journal that I've written to Bowie since she was in my tummy, like about different things that were going on in the world or my emotions or things that she's going through. And I'm like really excited like to give her that when she's like 18 of like the different
Beautiful.
things. Yeah. But I think you're killing it. What's been the
sister.
most challenging for you?
I think you hit on a pain point that, I'm a worrier. My therapist has often said, like, well, what if it just works out? She did have to, you know, apologize to me right after the fire because right before that I was like, oh my God, everything is great. Like, what if it all just works out? And then here we are.
Aw.
But
Where
sometimes it does just work out.
yeah.
And oftentimes we imagine the opposite of
Right.
what's the worst case scenario. But sometimes it's important to entertain the best case scenario.
Yeah. Were you, I know she's only 6 months, but do you want like more kids, do you think? Or I would be so
Maybe.
annoyed. Me asking you that is so annoying because you're like, she's 6 months, Jess. Like, come on. But I mean, like, were you someone growing up who was like, I want a couple kids? I like thought I was gonna have 4 kids at like 27. And I hit 25 and I'm like, the
Totally.
fuck are you thinking?
Yeah.
And now I have
wanted to
one
have
and I'm
5
like,
kids.
you want
Like your family.
you
I
want
wanted a
5?
whole, I wanted, I mean, I'm
Oh.
41. I'm like, the elevator is like to fertility is closing. I feel like.
But I also think this is such a fun age too. Like you've lived your life, you've went through your 20s, you have this great career, you have your husband. Like I think it's awesome because you've done so much. I mean,
Thank
I guess
you.
this is all I know. I was 36 years old when I had her, so it's like
And you're
all I
done?
know. If she didn't have Lexi, like have a sister, I would definitely want a dynamic of that maybe. But then again, I don't know. When her and I are just hanging, I'm like, she's great. Yeah, I'm 40, so I'm like, I'm probably good. But
I mean,
again,
I got pregnant at 40.
yeah, it's not like off the table, but I also when I got pregnant, the first house we bought together, it's actually really kind of funny. We hired Lexi, my stepdaughter's mom, Lauren, so Brad's
You guys all get
ex-wife.
along?
Yes, Brad's ex-wife, to be our realtor. And when she came in, when we were like closing or something, I was 7 months pregnant. Lexi ran in and like hugged me. And the other realtor was like, wait, how do you guys know each other? And I'm like, this is his ex-wife. That's their daughter. And I'm pregnant with his baby here. And she's our realtor. And she was like, this is as modern family as it gets. But yeah. But
That's an
we
awesome
ended up,
blended family.
it is. It's great. But we ended up moving at 7 months to Nashville. Then when she was 4 months, her and I moved to LA, but moved back to LA because I had to film and he was finishing the season with the Predators. Then we moved to Calgary, then Vancouver, and then Scottsdale. So Bowie lived in 5 different places before she was like 2. So when I look back at that, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. And Brad's like, but it wouldn't be that again because I'm not playing your show shoots in LA if that's, if we do another season there. So I feel like part of my like brain goes to like, oh my God, I can't do all of that again. People are like, how was postpartum? I'm like, honestly, I don't know because I was working 17-hour days and on flights on the weekend and breastfeeding my daughter in my trailer looking like an alien. I mean, it was like a grind with a 4-month-old.
Most
It was
beautiful alien. Yeah. I kind of missed the postpartum stuff because I had to jump into like crisis mode.
right.
And she's already she lived in our house that burned down for 2 weeks. My baby nurse is the one that's being a little bit of a rabble rouser. She's like, so do you want to keep these clothes or these small diapers? They never go bad. And I'm like, like part of me
You're
is
like,
like,
maybe.
actually, those are expensive. So I don't know. But anyway, that's what's
Yeah.
happening around here. We're doing
Wow.
great, Jessica.
I mean, you
We're
are.
really
That's a
crushing
lot to
it.
go through.
But yeah, just, getting through the day, realizing that, you can always get more money. You can't get more time. And like, such a good
That's
reminder.
so true.
Thank you for opening
Yeah.
up to all of
Yeah.
this.
Oh my God. Yeah. Wild. Life is wild. I also wanted to say too, like, working really hard and it's so funny. My mom always say, people be like, money doesn't solve your problems, but it surely does help them. It doesn't solve them,
Yeah.
but it'll help them.
I mean, I've been broke and rich. Being rich is more fun.
Yeah. But I never, like, when Gossip Girl hit, I was just going to say this before for like younger people listening. I think when you're choosing what you want to do in life and like picking a passion and working really hard at it, if you're picking something that you truly believe in and give it your all, like you will find so much happiness and the right things will fall into place. And sometimes I think that's when people all of a sudden like do fall into a nice chunk of money or a good investment and things like that, because your passion and everything you're giving, it's like bleeding into something. And I think sometimes if you're going after something to make the money and you only focus on that, it can cloud that.
Yeah. And we actually end all of our episodes by asking our guests for a tip that listeners can take straight to the bank. So, like a final tip.
Yeah.
But you just read my mind. Money Rehab is a production of Money News Network. I'm your host, Nicole Lappin. Money Rehab's executive producer is Morgan Lavoie. Our researcher is Emily Holmes. Do you need some money rehab? And let's be honest, we all do. So email us your money questions, moneyrehab@moneynewsnetwork.com, to potentially have your questions answered on the show or even have a one-on-one intervention with me. And follow us on Instagram @moneynews and TikTok @moneynewsnetwork for exclusive video content. And lastly, thank you. No, seriously, thank you. Thank you for listening and for investing in yourself, which is the most important investment you can make.